Wouldn't it be nice if money grew on trees? Too bad it doesn't work that way, you guys. I've been seeing all these videos on YouTube and other social media places about cash stuffing as a possible strategy for trying to get control of the tendency to overspend. Some of our bills, really, there's not a whole lot we can do about it. We can't always shave down the bills as much as we'd like to. But what control we can take is some of the more frivolous things. We can do some price comparisons and things like that. So I thought this month I'd go ahead and give it a try and see if cash stuffing actually works and let you know what I think about it. Debt is a serious issue and I am in it again. So I'm kind of like, I'm not the pot calling the kettle anything. I'm more just telling you like learned experience and battle scars. Okay, we can compare nightmare stories. But I remember when I was first becoming a young adult and how I got trapped in debt right out the gate. Before I even left home, I was receiving things in the mail about buying VHS tapes. Okay, I'm in my mid-40s, so that kind of dates me there. But there are VHS tapes back in my day, and they had this promo going where it was like, buy 10 for a penny, and everyone got so excited, and almost everybody my age did it, right? And then after that, you got billed, I don't know if it was like $24.99 a month, and they would randomly send you a video whether or not you liked it. And you are responsible for the entire cost, obviously. And you couldn't just quit because basically you didn't read the fine print, or at least I didn't. And I ended up having credit card debt and delinquencies and hurt credit score right at the age of 18. So I didn't get very much economic type of instruction in school or as a young adult from parents. And I didn't really see people using credit. So it was totally a foreign concept to me on how credit worked and credit cards and late fees and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I might be educated, but I didn't have a lot of street smarts, common sense when it came to money right out of the gate. Before I ever had access to credit, I did great. I knew how to save money and I worked really hard as a young child. I did all kinds of crazy schemes on how to make money, even selling rocks or gravel out of my driveway. Yeah, so I actually had like a little stand where I had rocks for sale, and I think it was like 15 cents per rock. Actually, one little boy bought some rocks from me, went home, and then came back with a really beautiful polished one. Instead, I accidentally gave him one extra. He might have been flirting. I also had all kinds of schemes, making food and treats and snacks like that. Like I took vanilla wafers and I would put Nutella on them and sprinkle powdered sugar, or I would do whipped cream depending on what people ordered, and sprinkles, like, you know, ice cream sprinkles. And then I think I charged like $1 for a plate of them or something. And so I had my own little like, little scheme going on there. Made quite a bit of money. I don't know if they were intended for resale, so don't snitch on me. But when I was little, I also sold Now and Later candies. So I would buy a big bulk bag of Now and Laters, and I'd sell the individual packages of like 4 or 5 candies for like $0.25. And I made a ton of money for like, what, I was 8 years old, I think. And so that was a great way of making money too. When I got up to high school, I learned that babysitting was a great way to make money. And if you babysat and you cleaned and did dishes and laundry and tutored their kids while they were out, they tended to give you a little bit more. So I did lots and lots of babysitting, and I actually worked for a daycare after school my senior year in high school for 2 hours or so every day, and that helped me to save some money too. Once I could drive, I had lots of part-time jobs. I moved out right away. For a while I lived in the dorms. It was a waste of money. So I decided to get an apartment, which was actually cheaper than living in the dorms. And I lived completely on my own, paying all of my bills and everything. And was secretly getting into debt with my student loans, which everyone knows is seriously a financial burden that you can never escape from. So my advice to my own children was not to get into debt over student loans. And that might not always be possible. You might have to get into a little bit of debt, but the least amount possible, the better. So choose the cheapest school. And especially if you're going to be like in like a blue collar job or something where it's not like really competitive, like your work ethic and your personality shines more than what school you went to and even what grades you got. Like for most of the time, C's get degrees, but yeah, so that's another story. I think in my undergrad degree, there might have been one person who had less like family background income than I did, but that person actually got like free schooling completely because of their financial status. I didn't get quite that good a deal. I still had to pay for all my room and board and all of my books and all of the fees. My first year of college was about, I think it was like $30,000. And that really hurts. There's no reason for a teacher, a future teacher, to be paying $30,000 in tuition. If you're going to be an attorney, a CEO, a surgeon, I don't know, maybe some of these professions, maybe you need to go to one of those really exclusive schools, but there's no reason for a future teacher or a nurse or somebody who's in one of these kinds of positions where we're basically public servants. There's no reason for us to go into debt in order to serve other people and be servants throughout our lives. The promise of service loan forgiveness, like there's actually this whole thing, this promo that's, kind of promoted and lied to you, saying you're going to get this forgiven if you go into public service. Like if you're a teacher in a low economic school or things like that. And I have not seen anybody I know actually become eligible for those programs. I have not met one person who has said that their debt was wiped away because they worked in a low economic school. There are some, but it's very rare. And the promo that Biden promised with teacher loan forgiveness, they made me transfer my loans to another provider. And because I did that, they said I had new loans and I was no longer eligible for any of their services. So yeah, that's not going to be happening. We can get all angry about people getting student loan forgiveness. It's just not happening. It was a lie to begin with. It was like a whole thing to like get you to hate me or something, and make people feel guilty for having student loans. So the only way for me to get out of poverty was for me to get an education. And I'm definitely not going to poo-poo the idea of getting into debt if you have to go to school. But be smart about it. In one of my positions as an administrator, because I do have 3 degrees, so I did admin for a while. In one of those positions, I hired like 70 teachers. And I looked over resumes where people had degrees from Harvard and Stanford who are applying for the same positions as teachers who got their degrees from just local colleges. And nowadays they have programs like WGU where it's super cheap compared to anywhere else. And it used to be kind of frowned upon. Like if you're hiring for a position, you'd be like, okay, well, I don't know what kind of quality education this person got. But in reality, if I was going to be on an interview panel now, I would not care one iota whether a person spent a lifetime's salary paying for their college education. I might even think it was a better idea. It's like you're a smarter person if you're not wasting your money on that degree. If you're going to be an attorney, a CEO, a surgeon, I don't know, maybe some of these professions, maybe you need to go to one of those really exclusive schools, but there's no reason for a future teacher or a nurse or somebody who's in one of these kinds of positions where we're basically public servants. There's no reason for us to go into debt in order to serve other people and be servants throughout our lives. The promise of service loan forgiveness, like there's actually this whole thing, this promo that's, kind of promoted and lied to you, saying you're going to get this forgiven if you go into public service. Like if you're a teacher in a low economic school or things like that. And I have not seen anybody I know actually become eligible for those programs. I have not met one person who has said that their debt was wiped away because they worked in a low economic school. There are some, but it's very rare. And the promo that Biden promised with teacher loan forgiveness, they made me transfer my loans to another provider. And because I did that, they said I had new loans and I was no longer eligible for any of their services. So that's not going to be happening. We can get all angry about people getting student loan forgiveness. It's just not happening. It was a lie to begin with. It was a whole thing to get you to hate me or something, and make people feel guilty for having student loans. So the only way for me to get out of poverty was for me to get an education. And I'm definitely not going to poo-poo the idea of getting into debt if you have to go to school. But be smart about it. So you probably don't want to do what I did when I went to school. I actually got 3 different college degrees, and I paid a pretty penny for them too. So I did start off by going to a private college, and I got all kinds of different scholarships and tuition remission and stuff by having family members who work for the school and so forth. But I also got really good grades, and I definitely earned my way. I also lived completely on my own all through college, which was very expensive. I didn't get the full college experience because I was literally working 5 part-time jobs and still going into debt. I think in my undergrad degree, there might have been one person who had less family background income than I did, but that person actually got free schooling completely because of their financial status. I didn't get quite that good a deal. I still had to pay for all my room and board and all of my books and all of the fees. My first year of college was about, I think it was $30,000. And that really hurts. There's no reason for a future teacher, to be paying $30,000 in tuition. So I also wanted to advise you, if you are getting a degree in something, get a degree in something people will say that you love. Get a degree in something that will get you a job that you could not get without that degree. Otherwise, learn for free. There's no reason why you have to pay for a learning experience unless it's going to be that hoop you have to jump through that's going to get you paid more. And I'm serious about that because I have 3 college degrees and I love learning. I enjoyed getting those degrees, and I paid a very, very pretty penny for it. It's not so pretty now. In retrospect, everything's kind of 2020, right? In the moment, I wish I had somebody to advise me. In fact, the people who are advising me were the people who are trying to loan me money. That is the worst place to get advice. They want your money, and they will say anything to get it. They will even lie to you. I'll tell you the mortgage story another day. I heard another YouTuber saying that every time you leave your house, someone's trying to take money from you. And that's true. But you don't even have to leave your house anymore, and people are literally trying to constantly get money from you everywhere you go. Some are scams and some are legitimate, but everybody wants to make some money, and they're going to do that at your expense. I've tried a lot of things to pinch pennies, and those things are actually really helping, but it's not pinching enough pennies. So some of the things I'm doing already is I don't make unnecessary trips. I basically drive to work and back. A few times, maybe once a week or so, I will drive to a few stores, maybe with a friend or something, but it's all local trips. So I don't spend a whole ton on gas. Even though gas prices are up, it's not a huge expenditure. I do use a credit card or a debit card for gas, and I am changing to using a debit card only for gas because it is easy to let that really fill up the credit card in no time at all. And then at some point it's such a big bill you can't pay it all at once. Don't love the idea of having to go into the gas station to pay in cash, and that can be a lot of money to carry around. So I put a little bit of money into the car section of the cash stuffing, but not very much. That's going to just be like if I don't have a lot of money in my bank account, if I in my checking savings account or whatever, if I have to use a credit card instead of using a credit card, I will use that cash that I have there. But otherwise, I will be using a debit card for gasoline. Over a decade ago, I almost declared bankruptcy, but it doesn't work the way it used to. Your loans, your debt does not get forgiven. So if at least not at our level, okay, you guys. So if you declare bankruptcy, you still have to pay back your debt. Student loans and medical bills are not forgiven. So people who declare bankruptcy now are like multi-billionaires, and basically the people who they don't have to pay back are the workers and the things that they paid for. But you still have to pay the government. So there's no way out of your debt. Even if it was ethical to take an easy way out, you can't do it anymore. It's just not how it works. Back to my childhood. So I barely ever heard anyone tell me no. Like, I was such a good child. I just did whatever made my parents happy. So if I thought for a second they'd be disappointed in me, I wouldn't do it. My parents never had to tell me no. And so, I don't know, maybe they just thought I was a really smart kid and they didn't teach me some of the basics that I really needed to learn. Knowing that, my actual real dad went through a bankruptcy and lost everything. He lost my childhood home. We had 2 farms. Do you need 2 farms? Why do you need 2 farms? I don't know. But we had 2 farms. And my parents got divorced when I was like 1 year old. So I didn't get to experience both of them very well, but one of them I really loved, and I considered that one home. And then when I came back from being stationed in Alaska, my home was gone. And it was a little bit after that. Yeah, anyway, I came back from one of the tours and my home was gone. My pony was sold off to somebody else. I had a pony for like a second. It's just enough to fall in love with it and have your heart completely broken. So we had a glimpse at the better life. It didn't last very long, and then it was completely gone, which is totally heartbreaking. So I have to get a grip on this money thing. And I'm trying this cash stuffing thing because it makes it a little bit more real. When you can just take a piece of plastic out and go swipe, and then you have whatever you want, it seems almost like a magic wand. Ding! You have what you want, right? Except what's the consequence? It's even easier now because you have Cash App, PayPal, and all these other ways of just poof, you have this thing that you want. And with delivery, even sometimes it's on your doorstep the next day or even the same day, or you forget about it, you buy some more stuff, and then you get a bunch of stuff later on. We need to learn how to temper our impulses and delay our gratification. So as a kid growing up in a military family, like I said, there was a broken home. So my dad's family, we had a little bit more until everything went with the bankruptcy. He lost everything. Everything was gone. And then people who were friends of the bank got to buy the farm for a fraction of what he owed. So that's really disgusting. That happens. So, it's so sad. He was going to build this beautiful house. He was almost done with it. We lived in a trailer on the property. So it was not the experience that the people who moved in got. But it's really heartbreaking. I kind of wonder how I could get that property in the future. Maybe I could pay off all my debts and save up enough money to get a down payment. And if that house ever comes available, maybe I could get it. That would be so cool. Probably not going to happen. Another thing to dream about later. But back to the cash stuffing. So the idea is that we are going to be paying in cash, so things feel more real. When you make that transaction of here's my $5, here's a real $5, it is so easy to just put a few more things in the basket because it doesn't feel real. It feels like the money is just there and there's no limit. It's like this endless, not an abyss, but it just seems like you can just spend whatever you want because it never runs out. But you do. Eventually, you max out your credit cards, you can't pay your minimum payments, and then you do end up having to go through credit counseling like I did over 10 years ago. And it was painful. It was embarrassing. We had to asked people to like forgive part of the interest that was owed. Then nobody wanted to give me credit cards for a while. I ended up paying back everything, but it wasn't pretty, you guys. It was humiliating. I had to tell a stranger about, like, I had to show them all my bank statements. I had to show them all my credit card stuff, what I spent my money on, and then it was awful. And I'm really scared because I got trapped again with credit cards, and I'm going to get out of it. And so I'm going to do a lot of strategies that I'm going to share with you here on my channel. Things that I already know to do, but these are things I did when I was really, really poor. Literally, my stepdad was an E5 in the military. He retired as an E5. We lived in the lowest area on every base we lived on. Everybody was going and doing stuff whenever we moved somewhere, and we would like do the same thing over and over again. Like, we'd go to the zoo because we had a membership, and we'd go to the same zoo over and over again. We'd go for walks. That was really nice. But everybody else was going out and doing things in those places where we were stationed, and we didn't quite do the same things because we did not have the money to do so. But we had really good strategies on how to save money, and we made the best out of what we had. So a lot of my bills I can't pay in cash. And so those I'm going to continue to pay the way they are. I have a lot already set up on automatic payment, which is probably even a better idea than cash stuffing. Is if you have bills, especially bills that have like mean sorts of policies about late fees and like interest that goes up, whatever, you need to make sure that your credit cards are being paid every month. So the best thing to do is set all of them up on automatic payment for the minimum due, and then choose one of them that you're going to pay way more, as much as you can possibly afford, and it might hurt a little bit for a while, and then after that's paid off, then you take that full amount and you add to one of the other debts that you have. That's called like the debt snowball or something like that. Anyway, the basic concept is that you pay off all of your debts, but you're paying on the minimum of everything, right? And then you choose the smallest balance, and that you decide, okay? Because they say to do the smallest balance first, because then you'll have like, it's more for your mental satisfaction. Like you have that gratification of knowing, I accomplished something. That small thing is done. It's gone. Now you have fewer things you have to monitor. But if they're all pretty close, like if they're all kind of close, choose the thing that has the worst interest rate and the worst policies. Like if you're late and then all of a sudden, you know that they're going to jump the rate on you, which happens all the time. And by the way, your credit cards can change rates at any time. That's up to them. And actually, American Express might be the worst of all of them. I'm trapped again. Yeah, American Express. Amex, my Amex card. X is not where the treasure is marked. Okay, that's where like, I'm dead. Okay, the X does not stand for treasure. It maybe stands for there's someone buried here. I don't know. Anyway, for the American Express, I'm not paying that one first because they kept changing my credit card amounts. They kept making it bigger. Like, oh, you seem to be spending a lot of money and you pay it back. Here's some more money you can spend. And it is so enticing. And it's harder to say no to yourself when you can say yes to yourself. So, and in our culture right now, everyone's like, yes, 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 yes to everything. And we need to learn how to say no. We need balance. We need limits. We need boundaries. We need people to tell us how far is too far. Sometimes we just have to accept our lot, and we can keep reaching forward and do things to make our lives better, but it doesn't mean going into debt, which will eventually make our lives much, much worse. So, cash stuffing. The risk I'm seeing here is that if I have $500 in that little notebook and I lose it, it's gone. No one's going to pay me back. I did have somebody steal from me through Walmart and through DoorDash and through PayPal and through my American Express. People are hackers. They get in and they steal stuff. I mean, they have all kinds of different scams where they'll buy something and then return it and then they get the money. And then I had all kinds of like weird addresses, like somewhere on the East Coast and down south where I don't live. And so the credit card companies were very helpful in getting that money back from me. I guess they should be, since they are getting so much money. So definitely the credit card agencies should be that generous to recoup the cost if we got scammed. Like, I mean, I didn't get scammed. Somebody like hacked into my account and stole a bunch of money. So, they're not going to do that for you if you're walking around with cash in your pocket. So the idea of putting all of your month or even 2 weeks or a whole week into that, stuffing the envelopes, has me a little bit puzzled. But I like the idea of paying in cash because it's real. And psychologically, it feels real. It's like I'm giving real money, something tangible, for something real back. And if you see how much you have and you see it running out, then you can be a lot more frugal. Now, when it comes to the cash I'd be putting in there, I would use the smallest bills possible because that's even more real. If you have a 50 or 100, you're like, Like, there's a lot. I have a lot of it. But if you have 1s and 5s and 10s, that is like, and you count it out. Because I remember when I was a kid, teenager, and I was buying gas, I used quarters. Like, I take all my quarters out of my pocket and lay it on the table. It'd be like $5, and that would get me several gallons of gas. So having real money, small denominations, small bills, and coins is a really good idea. I do not just spend $20 on my dogs and cats and stuff in a month, but because I have Banfield and I pay monthly for their pet plans, because it was going to cost so much out of pocket to get them spayed and everything. With the plans, it saves me a lot of money, and every time we use it, we get a percentage off. And also, I've tried some other different vets around the area, and like, they'll charge an intake fee for new pets, which is hundreds of dollars. And then, like, every time you go see them, you know, the price comparison between them and Banfield is just like no comparison. So I decided to go with Banfield, and I am paying monthly. It's like pet insurance, but not really. It's like a club plan or whatever, and they give you like a 10% off or something. But when it comes to getting them spayed, it saved me a ton of money. So I am keeping Banfield. I tried canceling it once on one of my dogs to see, and they said, no, if you cancel it, you have to pay a certain amount of money, and it was a ton of money. I was like, it would be cheaper for me to keep the plan. So I did. So actually the other day I went out to walmart.com and I actually bought dog food and cat litter, and then I ended up having to buy like some random items. So I got some instant coffee that I needed in order for it to be at least $35 so I could get the free shipping. So I did that, and I am trying to get my kids, whose pets they are and they're adult children, that they're going to kind of get phased into taking care of their own pets and their own financial responsibility that goes along with having them. It's pretty expensive to feed a family of 5. Definitely this is not enough money for the whole month, or even for, you know, maybe for 2 weeks. But the reason I put the money in there is because to buy groceries is with cash or debit. And I find that sometimes at the end of the month, I don't have enough money in my bank account to use a debit card without the risk of possibly overdrafting, which is also expensive. So I decided to put cash in to the grocery area of my cash stuffing section, because I want to make sure I can shop at Winco. Winco has definitely the cheapest groceries I have ever found anywhere. The other place, sometimes there are a few products I like to get, is the US Chefs. They used to be cash and carry, and there are a few items here and there in other places, but by far Winco is the cheapest place to buy most of our groceries, and they only accept cash or debit, or I think in EBT, but I don't qualify for that. So I am using that cash section specifically for Winco. Really trying to cut down on eating out and expensive items at stores like Fred Meyer's and Safeway and Albertsons. All of the products cost way more than they do at Winco. So I'm gonna take a little bit longer drive, and I'm gonna go and get my groceries there, and I'm gonna make sure I have cash so that I can do that. that bug is after me. So that's what happens to me, is I get stuck like in a catch-22 where it's like at the end of the month, because the teachers get paid once a month, and then you have to budget really well for the whole month. Okay. And so you have to budget really well. And at the end of the month, when I have barely any money and I could really use going to Winco, I can't do that because I can't use a credit card, because I'm thinking, what if something goes through and I get overdrawn, right? Or I'm going to be embarrassed if I try to swipe my card and it gets declined. So I'm going to make sure I have cash for Winco specifically. And I'm not sure it's going to work, but I'm trying to do like $125 to $150 a week in groceries at Winco. And then in reality, I'm going to have to go there once a week. I was trying to buy all my groceries at one time a month. And then we're getting a lot of like shelf stable foods that nobody really wants to eat. You get really tired of eating that kind of stuff. You want to have fresh produce and meat and that kind of thing. I also don't buy detergents anymore. Not only are we do have really sensitive skin, it was costing so much money, and also I have to lug around those big containers. So what I've been doing is I've been buying Azote soap, and I did buy some OxyClean powder, and it's gonna last me like forever. And then I have baking soda, of course, and as well as some essential oils. Right now I'm using lavender. So I just mix up my own stuff. And I've seen some people who are like really frugal who do that, and I'm sure that those videos you've seen those already. But it's not like making your own soap, it's just mixing it together. I mean, literally just using whatever I have. So I'll just shred up some Zote soap, which by the way, a cheese grater works great for that. Or like a peeler. Those work really great for the Zote soap. And I put a little bit of that in. I use the same container I got my detergent in, and then I just put the stuff into the same container. I add really warm tap water and shake it up really good, and then it's good to go. And it saves me literally, because of my family being so big, and my husband has a really dirty job, so it's saving me like $80 a month. So that's nothing to like poo-poo. I have seen a really frugal YouTuber who's very famous, and she talks about how that's a waste of time to make your own detergent, but you're a single person, and it's different than having a family of 5 with really dirty, stinky clothes. So, and I garden, so my clothes get really dirty too, and I'll often have more than one outfit. So like the one I went to work in, and then the ones that got all muddy. So there's that, and we have pets, so we need to have our clothes clean, and I don't want my kids to go to school smelling like cats or dogs or dirt or whatever. So we're going to clean our clothes really well. I'm not skimping on that, but I'm not spending a lot of money on it either. And it's just something I choose to do. If you decide to make your own soap or mix up your own soap, don't feel dismayed by somebody on YouTube who's saying that that's a waste of your time. It's not. Actually, my muscles are getting really strong mixing up that soap. And I actually feel really accomplished. Like I did something really productive, and it saved me a lot of money. So back in the day, people actually used to write down their expenses. It was like in your checkbook, you'd write down on the lines like how much you spent, so you make sure you didn't overdraft your account. When did we stop doing that? Like that was actually a really good idea, and it came with your checkbook back then. So basically that's what I'm doing with this process. Writing down your expenses is a great way of keeping yourself accountable to yourself. You don't have to go on YouTube like I am right now, saying like exposing yourself with all your debt, but mentally being aware of what you're spending, how you're spending it, where your money is going is a really important thing to do. You make better choices. And as I'm saying all this underneath this beautiful cherry tree, I said money doesn't grow on trees, but food does. So where's your perennial food forest? This is really important because you can save money on your groceries by growing a garden. And you know what I always say at the end of my videos? Be good, be sweet, and grow a garden if you want to eat. See you next time. And you know what doesn't cost you anything? Subscribing to my channel. Click like, subscribe, and comment below. What are you doing to be frugal and thrifty these days? How are you saving money? And is cash stuffing working for you? I'll see you next time. Bye.